What is up, guys, and welcome back to one of the final parts of the VE.
Number 6?
Yeah, I think it was number 6 or 7.
6.
This is going to be the max effort VE pump video. So
where the blue truck is to
yes,
used to be.
Well, where the blue truck used to be with Old Glory here on it. Obviously, we're always testing, trying new things, so that's why I have this pump off the truck and in my hands right now. But basically, the blue truck that you guys know and love or absolutely hate to see coming, that is what this video is over. Just the most current optimal setup is. Not any theory of what we think could be the best, but purely what does work, what we have proven, and all the secrets you guys want to know. That in raw reality is not that big of a secret. I've told you guys for a couple of years now what the exact setup is, and there's nothing really hidden here. So we're gonna start off with supporting mods. It should be pretty straightforward. We're gonna have an air dog. We are past the point of an HVLP. So an air dog 165 5G pump at minimum. If you want to go up to the 220, that is fine. But I believe the 165 will suffice for what we're doing. The people that are concerned about pressure, as long as there's pressure there, that's all that matters. I've had mine down to like 5 PSI, and it's made no power difference compared to whenever it's at 30. So I run it right at 15, it holds at 15, and that's pretty much how it goes. So there's nothing crazy going on there with lift pump. I do have a boost pressure, or a boost compensation kit basically, that runs boost pressure from the truck to the air dog. I do not have it on the truck because I've never needed it. Obviously, whenever I start running out of pump or air dog, I will need it. But as far as
off from that now.
Yeah, it's not even close to it right now. So no secrets there. As far as head goes, we want a quality head. We cannot have a 145 CFM head. We got to have something else. Really, our main options right now are, there's no options for 12 valve heads pretty much. You have Hamilton. Driven. Well, yeah.
Hamilton, maybe.
Well, you have Hamilton that are not produced anymore. You cannot they don't make heads anymore. They do cams, but you cannot you can't call them up and be like, hey, I want one. You're not going to get one. So you've either got to find one used, or the gentlemen out west at Power Driven Diesel sell 12 valve heads because they are still in the 12 valve game. They are not giving up on it as most others have. The other options out there have not offered a head for a while, I guess you could say. They offer a reman head. They don't offer a higher flowing head. They offer a fresh reman head. That's it. Anything
like the Waggler stuff, full tilt like 3.0 pulling truck stuff is not suitable for this application.
Correct.
Anything that removes the factory shelf is a downgrade for this activity. We won't get into why, but
yes, thank you for hitting that, Andy, because that's a huge deal.
Leave your shelf on there.
If there's no shelf, we don't want it. Do not do it. We have no business doing that. So a head of some sort, obviously, if you buy a head from one of those that were mentioned, it's going to come with valve springs. It's obviously, I would hope that you run decent push rods in it. It's going to give you an option for an O-ring or a fire ring. For most all street trucks, I recommend an O-ring. They do great with 625s in combination. If you're going to go fire ring, then in my mind, you are utilizing this guy right here. You're more the performance-oriented guy. I still daily drive mine on fire rings, but most don't realize that fire rings are a wear item. You're not going to put them in there and then 10 years later, you're never going to touch them. They're going to have problems eventually.
Depending on use, it could be every 10,000 miles, or you could go 50 and not touch them.
Yep,
but
it is all heat cycle related.
Yeah.
So that's why those
quality of machine work. That is another huge factor.
100%. So personally, I called up the guys at D&J. I told them what I wanted. They cut my head for fire rings, and they used their gasket with their fire rings. And not to be mistaken, whoever does your work for your fire rings needs to have them on hand so the specs are perfect, because they are a little bit different than the Hazley kit that you can buy off of various sites. So just be aware.
In English, don't take your head to your local machine shop and give them a printed off sheet from D&J's website or Hazley's website or Industrial, whoever sold you the gasket and firing. it's best to go straight to the source
Yep.
on that one.
100%. So as far as head goes, that's what we're looking at. Head studs, ARP 625s. There's no negotiating there. If we're really going to be pushing the barrier, especially using the bottle, you absolutely have to have 625s.
Or equivalents.
Or yeah, there's right now we're pretty much OptiTorque is the only ones that offer an equivalent, and they have proved to be good. So that is also an option. I put under supporting mods because I kind of forgot it last time and put it over here. Bars, and what I mean by bars is traction bars or cow tracks. If we are going to be making this power, we best be using it. I don't expect you guys to do this and not use it.
Insert clip of Russell crab walking.
Yeah, just because I love Russell and that happened this weekend. I'll put a picture right here as to what happens. So, or what can happen.
Factory rear suspension.
Yep.
Yeah, just no good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
traction bars or cow tracks. I prefer cow tracks.
Yep.
Either are good.
Yep. So, yeah, and then obviously already mentioned the push rods and valve springs. So those are the big supporting mods there. As far as the engine that you're bolting this stuff to, we're gonna say if you're keeping it 12 valve, which I'm assuming most of you are, it is gonna be a 155 degree non-intercooled piston. That's what you need to have, period. No 145s, we're not doing that. For the optimal power output, you need 155s. And that is mainly timing related.
And which year of truck did the 155s
That would be
come in?
the 89 to 91s came with the 155s. So if you want to go the more cost-effective route, you can hop on the Power Driven Diesel website or Pure Diesel Power, or whatever you want. And for sure, Power Drivens, you can jump on there and go to 89 to 93, go under engine assembly, pistons, and then under there, there'll be an Interstate McBee option. And those are $86 a piece for the pistons. And I whacked those to 1200 and had no problems, besides my piston to wall clearance being too tight. Thank you to the machine shop that did not listen to me. But pretty cost effective option there. And then bottom end, I mean a stock bottom end will do. We'll do that. I mean, I don't think I'm going out of my way. Unless I'm gonna get carried away with the bottle. I mean, if I'm really using it, if I'm using it like I'm using the blue truck, I'm probably gonna put rods in it. And I'm probably, I mean, obviously a set of Street Fighters come with rod bolts, and I've got main studs on hand, and they're 14 millimeter mains on these 12 valve blocks. So, and those are about $350. So,
but the blue truck at the time of the 760 and 1200 wax was 14 mil main studs,
yep,
stock rods,
yep,
with rod bolts.
Yep, that is correct.
That negligible upgrade in my
yeah,
opinion, but
yeah,
12 valve rods will do about everything you want aside from spin fast and make that power that fast. So.
Yeah, if we were making that power way up top, they would shorten pretty quick. That is kind of engine setup, what I would do. Obviously nothing crazy, no voodoo magic there, just 155s. That is kind of the biggest key as far as the short block goes. Now on to the pump. So you want a pump from Evan Ratcliffe or Atman Performance. It is just a 12 mil VE pump. This one, what he'll send out like mine, it's got a clip 3800 that he offers on his website that I've gone to 4180 with, and it rides the governor to 4180. So that's about all I can tell you about that. It puts out enough fuel to do 760 horsepower, and there's still fuel left on the table. Obviously we've not tapped this bad boy out. This is a 12 millimeter pump. Like I mentioned, there's comp pumps on the market. Eric's Ram Charger with his pump has done 731, which is great. Verlin's 12 mils, the highest I've seen, which might have been Coda, 560, 530, 540.
That was 540 something.
Yeah, mid fives. His 14 mil was 589. And be aware, some of you guys hear us talk about 12 millimeter, 14 millimeter. We'll actually probably do a video with Evan coming up explaining kind of why stick with 12 mil. Mainly, it lasts, it works, it's streetable. We want pumps that can be bolt on, and Evan doesn't have to get phone calls about hey, my pump blew up, I need another one. Nobody wants to deal with that. We want to have a reliable, nicely mannered street truck, and that's what these 12s allow for. I want it to be recognized. I did mention the other pump builders. They just have not, well, Eric's pumps have gotten to that 700 mark. Verlin's have not yet.
Only Eric's.
Yeah, only Eric's. Well,
On
yeah,
Eric's
okay,
truck.
literally, yes. Eric's Ram Charger is the only one of his pumps that have ever done over 7. So I don't know if he's got customers in the works that are kind of shooting for that or what the goals are there, but obviously if you pay attention to the internet at all, you'll see whenever they pop up and whatnot. Tim's been working hard. Tim's done like 5 or mid 5s or something like that with compounds. So
yeah, Tim's a
happy
G for
with Tim.
sticking with it. That would, yeah.
Hopefully we get to see Tim in the near future again.
Intercooled KSB
Yeah, so
on a on-off switch.
yes, your pump from Evan will come with an intercooled KSB. You're going to wire up a switch to the KSB. This is the KSB. I've talked about it almost in every video, and I still have people message me about what the heck am I talking about. This is the KSB. It advances timing. So whenever it's given 12 volts, it advances the timing. So what you're going to do is an on-off switch that was just a push button momentary switch. So push it on, let go off. A pressure switch hooked up to your intake or something to reference boost pressure, come on 25, 30 PSI, or a full throttle switch. Biggest thing about the full throttle switch is you can't just whack it right off the get-go and be under the chargers. You will probably pop a head gasket if you don't have some of this stuff done. It's very hard on things when activating the KSB and the chargers are not lit. The chargers need to be lit whenever you grab the KSB. So that's why I mention it, and notice the fact there is no timing spacer on this pump. We'll leave that there. Yeah, mind-blowing, really.
Lines, I like this.
Lines, we love the topic of the injection lines because it's kind of looked over. It needs to be noticed that intercooled lines and non-intercooled lines
are
different, and it's not just the aspect of they are routed different and the delivery valve holders. Yeah, there is a size, the orifice in the line is a different size.
So the non-intercooled lines are going to be your larger, per Cummins print. Gavin will tell you different, but Gavin's an idiot. They're 0.078. The intercooled lines are, what, 0.073?
Yeah.
Or maybe even smaller than that, I forget. So you want the larger of the two, which would be the non-intercooled lines. Those were factory race trucks.
Yeah.
Hotter injectors, hotter pumps.
Yeah, those non-intercooled trucks flat get it. They flat get it, so.
And you can, I suppose, go larger than that, but.
Yes. We'll say, hey, Scheid offers a 093 line for these trucks. Why are we not running those?
Yeah. Because Gavin Hugh didn't, and we do what Gavin Hugh does. I'm kidding.
Yeah, we're joking. You will notice that
you'll
the trucks get
retard
really
the timing, and it's just,
Yes.
you don't mess with it.
Yes.
Non-intercooled lines are cheaper
Yeah.
and readily available, and you probably already have them. So.
Yeah, exactly. Next, timing. We're going to skip a tooth. With the 155 pistons, we are going to skip a tooth 100%, set it at the stock marks, and that's where you're going to start with your baseline. By the end of this, you should end up at the head if you have enough air.
Skip the tooth, stock marks, that's roughly what, 20 degrees? A little over 21, 22, depending on how many degrees we're calling one tooth.
Yeah.
8 to 10, so.
Yeah, most will claim 10. So yeah.
22.
22 and a half. So depending on, I don't know, the really most accurate way to do this, or the way I prefer, is get a diesel timing light, or get your timing light and get the diesel pulse adapter from Blue Point, so you can actually, see the correct timing. Doing the dial is kind of a pain in the you-know-what, and I prefer not to mess with that. So get yourself a timing light. It does help, but yes, first we're going to start off skipped one tooth to letter C, and we're going to put it on the stock marks, and that's going to be the baseline, and you're going to go up from there. Injectors.
5x16 minimum.
Yes, 5x16s from Infinite Performance. Those will be the ticket. Currently, that's what is in my truck. That's what's always been in there. And I do not believe they are completely tapped out at 760. I believe they probably got a little bit more left in them, pending some adjustments and R&D stuff we try, not injector related. So at 760, I picked up that 30 horsepower from 730 to 760 by messing with the air side of things. So had some turbine housing adjustments there and it picked up power. It's still got some fuel left over, so I do believe that we can get a little bit more out of them, but we're borderline there. You'll see us testing some larger injectors than that in the future to decide
what the choke point was.
Yeah, where is too much, because we do believe that at a certain point, obviously injection pressure is affected and there's too much injector.
Yes.
We see people with 5x25s in these trucks, don't we?
That still run like hammered shit.
That still make about 422 horsepower. So don't be that guy. So there is a point of too large.
There is. And we fully intend on finding it
Yeah.
the right way, as in stepping up to it instead of going straight to it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then working backwards, because that makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. So
Transmissions.
yes, fun topic here.
47 or 48 for you automatic boys. I believe the blue truck is a anteater DPC converter, input and output, standard size. It's not an intermediate, is it? No.
Nope.
Standard
Stock.
intermediate.
Yep, stock intermediate.
So as crazy as this setup is, you don't need anything crazy trans-wise to hold it.
Nope, it's if you got on Firepunk Diesel's website today and you looked at a Comp 1, that is what is in the blue truck. During those nitrous wax and where it set the records, it was a street track. So if you look at that, it is a billet input, stock intermediate, stock output. So once I started getting more aggressive with racing, I put the billet output shaft in it because that was going to be the next point.
The Firepunk Comp 1 will cost you $6,700 plus core and shipping.
Yes. So if you guys are at all interested in that, remember that is just the transmission. We need various other parts to complete this swap. We're going to need drive shafts, anteater, or a full manual valve body with a ratchet shifter.
Yeah, like a man.
Or
anteater's about $1,000.
Yep.
All said and done with the TV lever or TV setup.
So that whole setup comes together for around $1,000.
Drive shafts, adapter.
Yeah, the adapter plate, the starter.
So you'd have roughly 9.
Cross member.
Roughly 9. And
yeah, that's a safe guesstimate. And then if you're gung-ho on staying manual, again, I don't know why you need this power if you're going to stay manual. You're not really going to use it. Maybe if you're sled pulling like Colt, I will give it to Colt. He's pulling like every weekend, so he is using his still. He has it's not the level of this truck, but
I forgot.
G56 swap. That's what I would be going to if I wanted to keep it manual. I really don't care to go into depth with manuals, but G56 is just, they shift nice, they do the job. For this power, that they're gonna hold up with a nice clutch. Personally, clutch-wise, I'm either gonna call Dan at Valair and get a clutch from him, or I'm gonna go to Kentucky Clutch. Both of those are great options. Yeah, as far as trans goes, that's about it. You are gonna have to spend a pretty penny there, but it's worth it. Nothing drives, that makes the driving.
Game.
Yeah.
The game.
Yeah, that is a part of the game. If you aren't gonna pay to play, then you're in the wrong part, so. I do hate to
go back to a stock 12 valve.
Yeah, I do hate to be that guy, but there is a certain point where you got to pay to play, and this level is it. So next up, it's going to be the air side of things. So first off, intercooler has to happen. You need a stock first-gen intercooler is not going to cut it. You need something large. I run a second-gen on-3 intercooler. Yes, the entire core support is pretty much cut out. I went crazy with the cutoff wheel and a hole saw, and we made it work. That piping is 3.5 inches. It's huge. There's other options out there from On3. They have a small intercooler that Andy has. I say small, it's compact. It's smaller dimension, but it's very thick.
5-inch core.
Yeah, 5-inch core, it's very thick. So
3.5 in and out too.
Big time race trucks use them all the time. They work very well. It's very thick for a first-gen core support to grill area. So
I daily drive mine with that, and it
seems to do great.
Trick.
Yeah. So I would avoid Mishimoto at all costs.
Yeah.
That's the biggest money
metric
scam that I've ever seen in my life.
Of receiving a head gasket folded in half.
Yeah.
That's what you're gonna get with Mishimoto.
Yeah, I think Derek's literally just cracked, like his Mishimoto 731, but I have seen that more times than I can count.
Marcus bought a Mishimoto intercooler and radiator for his diesel TRX, more or less, and the intercooler showed up with the 3-inch outlets, right? Ovaled, smudged from shipping because they didn't pack it. and then the radiator was cracked. So save your money. They're overpriced to begin with. On 3 stuff's what, $700 flat?
Maybe.
Like the one I've had for the 3rd gen was like $650 shipped.
Yeah.
What is the other option? 7.3.
Yeah, a 7.3. A
Colt's
7.3.
got one of those, doesn't he?
Who?
Colt.
Yeah, I think. No, Colt went to a 2nd gen on 3. He told us that one reason we were on the phone last. I remember that.
But he was a 7.3.
Yes, it was a 7.3. I think
Yeah.
Derek's was 7.3 style. There's other companies besides Mishimoto that sell the 7.3 style one. So do some Googling. You'll find it. That's also an upgrade. Mine have, I do want it to be known that whenever we're talking about turbo setups like we're going to go into, my intercooler piping, the 2nd gen on 3 comes with is only probably 2 3/4 or 3 inch to fit a 2nd gen. So what they did on mine is they cut those off flush and basically measured how big the 3.5 inch ID intercooler pipe was going to be and opened that up, welded the new piece on, and they're a lot larger. So for whatever that's worth, with all that head flow, it's probably notable.
Yeah, cam, head flow, compounds, 3.5 inch hot and cold side piping is smart.
So my cold side might be, no, it's 3.5.
No, it's 3.5, yeah.
As far as intercooler goes, that's kind of my word to the wise. You guys have asked about intake horns. The one on my truck is literally a stock common rail intake horn off of a 5.9.
Off the Lord's mother.
They have done a ton of power.
I think Josh has done well over 2.
Yeah, they do a ton of
on.
power. Eventually, yes, they will like blow up like shrapnel, but we're not going to get to that point.
If we do, something went horribly right.
Yeah, horribly right, and I'll be boasting about it.
Or that pre-combusted.
Yeah, this guy. So, yeah, don't need to be overthinking intake horns. Turbos, the fun part. I do love this topic because I do love talking turbos. We could do probably 50 episodes just talking turbos and what we think could be really cool. But in all reality, a proven setup, should I state what the Blue Trucks was and then what we think would do a little bit better?
I think that was light years better than what this is now.
Yeah.
Drivability-wise,
So,
I think it made the same power.
and that was with the small turbine that I don't like. So the Blue Truck setup originally was a S362 SXE, and that makes me want to put a Glock in my mouth right now.
You're going to say the next number, and it's going to make me
Well,
want to put
it was a
Glock in my mouth.
62, 68
Yeah.
with a non-gated 8.0 or 14, as some of you guys call it, housing. So that was on the manifold with a gated manifold. So there was a gate in play, 45 millimeter
Before
Turbo
it
Smart
was
Waste
not,
gate.
though.
Yeah,
Right.
before it wasn't, drove even better, but whenever it made the big number, it had a gate. And then on top of that was a 98 millimeter GT55. So 98, 112 with a 115 tile V-band housing. That's gangster as shit.
Yeah.
So the gate was dumping into the hot pipe, feeding the big one.
Yeah.
If you guys want to see what the difference was versus in the pipe versus not in the pipe to the atmosphere for the wastegate, there's a video on that I will attempt to find and link right above here. It's called wastegating to the atmosphere versus to the pipe, or literally something like that. It's like 1.5 years, 2 years ago. So go back and look at that, and I break it all down for you. But that's what the Blue Truck originally was.
So we have no S400s noted here. That will include your 480, your 485, 488, your 492, all because they only come with a, I don't even know what the forced induction is, what, a 93 turbine wheel, but off-the-shelf S400 turbine options.
9688.
96 is the biggest you can get, 9688.
Yeah, it's a 9688. So let's...
not enough.
Not enough turbine. Let's think about this. So this is going to be a little bit of a tangent, but please just bear with me because it's relative. It kind of helps people think about turbo sizing, in my opinion. So we're talking about an 88, 96 turbo. So compressor wheel 88, turbine wheel 96. The turbine wheel is a 96, 88. So the exducer is the same. The exducer of the turbine wheel is the same size as the inducer of the compressor wheel, which is relative to whole set because whole set measures their turbines like men, backwards. So it's like you got a 67, 67 whole set. It is a true 67, 67. The turbine wheel is a 67, 76. So whole set mentions the smaller number on the turbine side. Borg mentions the big side. So a 96 turbine is not that big in comparison to other large frame chargers. So I just want to be very clear on that. I hope that wasn't too confusing, but a 96 turbine is not like, oh my goodness, that's almost 100. No, the extruder's 88. So the 96 is the big number of that, which is not that huge.
I don't know. I will argue all day that unless someone's come out with a fancy 96mm bore turbine wheel, the blade count and tip height and all that shit comes into play, and the Garrett stuff is light years ahead, in my opinion, of the 96 turbine and the S400s.
So we're talking a 10 blade 96 in the boards. So that's our tangent on the 400s. That's why we say no S400s. What we're comparing it to is a Garrett GT55. So a GT55 can range from what, low mid 80s on the compressor wheel?
Mine's an 86.
All the way up to a 106.
Yeah, I think
if it's genuine Garrett.
Starts at 118.
Yeah, so we're talking anywhere from a mid 80s compressor wheel to a 106. So obviously we're not probably going to go that far out in the left field, but the one on the blue truck is a 98. They make 92s, 94s. There's some that make 91s. There's plenty that make 88s.
I believe the biggest gripe here will be, well, Gavin, I don't want to spend $4,800 on one turbo that's only going to make 24 PSI of interstage.
Yes, and that is a valid concern.
That is why the good Lord created VS Racing.
Yes.
And PSR.
Yes. So there's a website called VS Racing and Pulsar or PSR.
Turbos4less.com.
Yes, and then Pulsar or PSR.
The intercooler. On3 has
also On3
has the 92 to 107 options.
So
with cool turbine wheels.
A Pulsar Pro 88 GT55 is about $2,000.
Yeah.
That's half the price.
And they got the cool billet center section.
Yeah, they come with a gangster billet center section, dual ball bearing, which is neither here nor there. I really care less. And then you have the option of turbine housings. You can have your normal foot style turbine housing. That's the 4 bolts that looks like they call a turbine housing foot. Or you have a V-band turbine housing, which is what the blue truck has.
Yeah.
And that kind of makes fabricating pretty cool for the hot pipe, because you don't have to worry about making that 90 on the normal foot style turbine housing. You can
90 sucks in a tight spot.
Yeah. That's the GT55 stuff. I guess we should mention turbine. They're usually a 112 inducer.
112, 102.
102 on the exducer. So we're talking about a 112, 102 versus a 96, 88. So that's the differences we're talking about here. And blade count.
Yeah.
9 blade Garrett turbines are gangster.
I'd pick that one up and carry it over here, but it's
it's really heavy.
Not only the blade count, but
the
housing options.
Yeah, the housing options.
I guess you can get a 112 or 115 housing for a tile housing for an S400.
Yeah, the V-bands, they come in, there's a 101 housing, there's a 115, and then it jumps up to like high 120s, and then I think there's one that's way out there for V-band. But
mine's a 112.
So yours is a T6?
112. T6 open 112.
Yeah, T6 open 112, now, which obviously divided and open.
Here comes everyone with a common rail has a 96 turbine wheel and a 132 housing. We're trying to drive the more efficient turbine wheel on a GT55 or HX82 or maybe even
Yes,
GT50.
HX82 is an honorable mention here. That is GT55 or HX82.
You want less than a 132 turbine housing in this specific application, so you can drive the atmosphere harder to get that pressure ratio equal, which we will not get into. But I think that's it for turbos.
Besides, I mean, I'm not saying to run a S362 SXE on your manifold. I would like to mention the 68 turbine in that, not a fan at all. I highly despise that thing. What I would recommend to most, I would jump up to either, because the 62 in the Borg stuff actually measures like 61.4. It's not even a full 62.
64 and a half.
Yeah, so I would either go up to a 363, 364 and a half. I don't think I'd go past that on most VE trucks. The 64 and a half is really good. And then the turbine side of that, I would go to the 7380 turbine wheel. I like it more. It's on the Pulsar website, and Also Duncan at Finley Precision Inductions, and a multitude of guys are using a 9-blade turbine wheel. It's the Borg size turbine, but it's a 9-blade turbine wheel, and it is really cool. I do like it a lot. And it
more gooder.
Yeah, I do like it pretty good. As far as turbine housing goes, you can get a T3 8.0 housing. That's the smallest I would go. Well, that's pretty much the only thing I would do if I was going Borg. I'd get the 8.0 housing.
With a 68 wheel.
Yeah.
The 8.0 would be the...
Yeah. And if you're gung-ho on staying T3 with that 73 turbine wheel, I don't love that idea at all. Yeah, I don't really like that. That's not a good idea.
You punch an 8.0 housing out to fit a 73. It becomes like a what?
A time bomb?
0.60?
Yeah, probably 0.60 housing
a
or
shaft
something.
snapper.
I would go up to a T4 and run, there is a rather pricey, is it a
0.84
8.84
divided.
Yeah, it's a 0.84 T4 divided housing. They come in the
$700.
No, mine was, well, maybe the gated version.
Gated version, yeah.
So the gated version might be around $700, might be less, I don't know. I have the non-gated version, which was like $450. So either or there, please be aware, I've said this multiple times, if you're spraying nitrous, there's gotta be a gate somewhere, whether it's in the manifold or the turbine side or the turbine housing, like there has to be a gate.
Or the gate will become your head gasket.
Yes, precisely.
Or you're poorly...
An honorable mention turbo I would really like to suggest here, and it's not just because he's a buddy of ours, but he really does support the kind of the VE stuff we've been going after, and he's not even a VE guy. He just really likes to see the data. Yeah, he's down for the foolery, likes to see the data, likes to see us pushing forward with stuff. And Andy is wearing a shirt right now. It is Mr. Duncan Finley at Finley Precision Inductions. He has a very new offering for the S300 platform. Hell, we've filmed a video on it actually.
Yes. So the 69 73.5 on my 3rd gen with his new T4 balls.
It's a 0.86.
0.86, yeah.
Single scroll.
Open single scroll 0.86 with a.
I mean, this gate is like
gigantic gate puck in it.
This gate is huge. So it's a custom stainless housing. Literally nobody else has them. He had them made. He spent a ton of money just to have these made and was going off on a whim. So
it's done great.
You can offer, I mean, he offers them in more than just the 69, right?
It's 63, 64 and a half, and a 69. You get the 69 with the turbine wheel that's on mine, or the 71. And they're all 9-blade. So they're cool.
Yes.
The gate design is a lot like the 9cm on the HE351s.
Which are the king.
The king. So I like to call it a stock appearing plus.
Yeah, it drives so good.
It drives good.
So that's an honorable mention there. If you want to hop on Duncan's website, you'll see that fancy, cool looking turbine housing. Or
the, what do they call it? Felony?
Yeah, the Felony. Or you could always... He has a Facebook page that's for his business. If you have questions or something, I mean, ask Duncan. Obviously, be serious, have intentions whenever you're messaging him, because if you're doing this...
Bugging this guy, wasting his time, and then not spending any money with him, and then go buy an 8.0 housing from AGP.
Yeah, because then you're making me look bad. So, yeah, that's what I would do air-wise. 62 to 64.5 range on the manifold with not a 68 turbine wheel. Have the 73 turbine wheel, and on the Atmo, the GT50 frame is big, but the turbine wheel is only 100 on the inducer, I believe, or 102, with like a 94-ish.
Yeah,
so it's bigger. It's bigger than an
90,
S400.
96-ish, I thought.
Yeah, so
maybe
196 or something like that. So GT50 is like, that is an honorable mention. Really,
there aren't a whole lot of GT50 clones though.
No, there's really not.
You're gonna be.
There's really not. There's one on VS.
Out the kazoo.
Yeah, there's one on VS that's an 88 because Jerome had one.
Oh,
that was what was on his car. But so price-wise, that's mentioned. A GT55 Super Gangster. And if you want to have the biggest swinging, you know what, an HX82. A whole set HX82 is probably the most gangster thing you could ever do. I can't even ramble off the sizes because there's so many variations. We'd have to have Duncan on here to kind of go over all the different. Because you get into turbine wheels and there's G trim, there's all the different trims.
We should go with
It's
Nothing
insane.
less than a 28 cm turbine housing.
Yeah, I don't even know if they offer. I don't even know what they offer for those things.
I don't even know either.
Basically, if you guys have seen Weimers are cloned off of HX82's platform. That's what a Weimer
little
is.
supports around the compressor inlet.
Yeah, that is an HX82. So they're super gangster. They're huge.
The only downfall to these are parts are hard to get.
They're expensive.
Therefore makes them expensive, yeah.
Yep.
But it's, fuck is it sick.
Yeah, they're super cool.
Sick.
Very, very cool. So turbo-wise, that's what we're going to mention. And again, no, if you are not running any, you don't plan on spraying any nitrous ever, then you don't need an external gate on your manifold. Like a 45 mil Turbo Smart wastegate that clamps to your manifold, you do not need one of those if you are not going to spray nitrous, in my opinion. Duncan's housing is nasty enough, that'll be plenty. But if we are spraying nitrous, we need to think about having a gate because, like Andy said, the gate's going to turn into your head gasket and it's going to go kaboomy.
And on this, again, this specific application, gate to your atmospheric charger.
Yes, gate right into that hot pipe. And that's also why we say gate in the hot pipe. That's also why we say no S400s. Do not dump that gate into a hot pipe that has an S400 bolted onto it.
I mentioned that.
Nightmare.
The
Real bad. This big 112 turbine wheel on a GT55 eats that shit up.
Yeah,
Like,
you're using
the
the drive pressure that you're getting out of the cylinder head and you're putting it in the atmospheric turbine, therefore driving it harder, making everything work less harder.
Yeah,
Harder.
comes up nicer.
I'm hard.
A lot of RPM difference there in spool time versus from atmosphere to in the hot pipe. So please note that I mentioned that. If you have questions, yes, but I'm just going to tell you the exact same thing I just told you there. Nitrous.
Okay. Are we going into nitrous?
Yeah, we can talk about nitrous a little bit, and then we'll get into I give you all this information, now you got to do something with it. So nitrous.
How much nitrous did you spray to make 1,200 horsepower?
So how much?
Okay, jet size.
Yeah, so we'll talk jet size. Believe it or not, I really did not spray that much nitrous to make 1,200 horsepower. I made that 1,200 horsepower a week before the dyno day. And this was just a test whack, just to make sure the nitrous was all working, everything's happy. That's the crazy part. I did not spray that much nitrous to make the 1,200 horsepower. Now,
I remember
I say that much.
You weren't planning on that.
No, we were all shocked. So I say not that much nitrous. You guys are going to be like, oh, that's a ton of nitrous. But you got to remember, in the world that I was in, up in Ohio at Firepunk, that was a very minimal amount of nitrous. So I sprayed.
A 136 jet's like a cup of coffee to those guys.
Yeah. So my solenoid setups are, I have a Nitrous Express.
137,500.
Yeah, it's a 15375.
Yeah. So
what we call a 375 solenoid, which is the Megajet solenoid.
Big dog.
And then I have a 15300 L solenoid. So that's low pressure. That I have theories about that. But a 15300, which can flow up to a 125 orifice. So 125 thou orifice is what that can flow up to. And a 375
spool jet.
Yeah, it's kind of big for a spool jet solenoid, but yes, that's what we use it for. And then the 375, I had that can flow up to I think it's called 375 because it can flow up to like a 375 orifice. It's huge. Yeah, that's why they call it the Megajet.
Yeah, the big dog in that one, yeah.
So in the 375 port, I had it neck down from a Megajet bung down to a normal size jet, and it was just a 136 jet. And then in the 15300 solenoid, in the pipe, I had a 99. So I was spraying a 136 and a 99 jet. Yes. Now there's guys at that dyno day that I put 2 136 jets in that were spraying more nitrous than I had for that 1200 whack. So that's something interesting to think about. But I run all Nitrous Express stuff. I have a nitrous controller. It's called a NX Express Maximizer 5 that has a whole bunch of different inputs and outputs that basically the nitrous, it comes on whenever I want it to come on, and it for damn sure shuts off whenever I want it off. I'm not so much worried about making sure the nitrous comes on as I am making sure it's off.
You do not want to let out
when
nitrous keeps spraying. That makes things go
backfire. It's gonna
bing bang.
Yeah, bad things. Very, very bad things. There's a lot we could go into with nitrous, but to make 1200 horsepower, what I will tell you is I sprayed a 136 jet and a 99 jet, and that is it. And that pull where everybody knows or has seen where it tries to like leap off the dyno. It only made 1179 in that pull, and I had not the biggest mega jet in it. I had a 136 in the smaller one, and I had it was basically, I think, the middle size mega jet.
I don't even know what that is.
Which is like a 280 or something like that orifice. So it was the equivalent to spraying 3 136 jets is essentially what it was. I can spray up to basically what is 4 136 jets.
There's a couple boost leaks there.
Yeah, there was boost leaks. The KSB didn't come on. So I sprayed, basically I put in, for the first nitrous whack, I had the jets in that I knew would make 1200 horse that I tested with because I'd like to go off of what I know. The KSB did not come on. It made 168 horsepower less with the KSB off. What did Gavin do? Gavin panicked, and we started putting bigger jets in, and we sprayed it all the way up to 1179. So we picked up 130 or 40 of that horsepower. So that, in my head, that means if we put those jets back in with the KSB working and no boost leaks, we would gain probably another 140 horsepower.
1350 on top.
Yeah, that's 1350 pushing 1400 horsepower with that exact setup, with those injectors, without upgrading anything. So I would like that to be on the record.
That was
We're
safe.
not at the limits.
It was cold. It cooled.
Yeah.
You weren't burning anything up.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the other thing about nitrous, big misconception. Oh, I'm gonna melt my engine. If you are melting pistons spraying nitrous, you are not spraying enough nitrous. Nitrous has a cooling effect. My EGTs went from 1300 to whenever the nitrous came on to like 720. So you want to be so far on the lean side of the curve that it's basically EGT control. So if you are melting pistons, you need to up the jet size. We are not spraying enough nitrous. That's probably all I really got for nitrous.
Okay, so I've spent a galactic amount of money here.
A ton of, yes.
A ton of money. I've installed all these parts.
You bolted it on.
I bolted everything on. Done a little bit of, timing here, timing there, wastegate, but it's just kind of.
Yeah. Well.
Why?
The moral of the story here is, I really like to say, you cannot buy and bolt on horsepower. Is that kind of incorrect?
Not with this shit.
That it's somewhat, it's kind of incorrect. You're like, oh, Gavin, I can buy injectors and turbos. That doesn't mean it's going to make more horsepower. There are other things that are affected to gain that said horsepower. Just because you put it all on, now you need to take advantage of the parts that you have. So bolting it on, it will not make the horsepower. I'll tell you right now. If you guys think that I bolted all this shit on and I made 760, nope. I bolted all this shit on, put it on the dyno. It made 464 horsepower the first whack.
And you spent the better part of your 26th year on planet Earth on the dyno.
On the dyno.
Getting to that 760 number.
Yeah, 157 dyno pulls later, we made 760 horsepower. So the moral of the story is, you have to work for it. Like, you can't just bolt it on and expect it to work. If you are not willing to put in the work, please do not do this. Go buy a freaking common rail engine and put it in and have somebody tune it for you and be done with it. But if you're going to buy all this and not put in the work and then potentially talk badly about any of these people mentioned or anybody in this industry that's trying to push it forward, please go somewhere else. Go buy a common rail, go do something else. Or go put a P-pump on it. Like, the fact that, yeah, literally. But the problem is, what you're gonna run into there is, you still have to apply yourself. You still have to work for it. So I've been saying a lot lately, you have to apply yourself to make the power. The truck can only do so much. It can only do what it's told. You have to figure out, for example, I was making 730 horsepower and I kept adding timing and it just hit a wall. We couldn't figure it out. And we're like, oh, well, let's look into some smaller things. Had the turbine housing machined a little bit like Evan did to my Borg turbine housing, what he does with the whole set 12 CMs. Bolted it back on, made the same horsepower, but this time whenever I advanced the timing back to or advanced it more towards the head, it picked up 30 horsepower. So I bolted it back on, oh, it didn't gain any power, I should be mad. No, that change allowed for me to add more timing and pick up horsepower, as to where before I just hit a wall. So be aware, one change at a time. That's one of the biggest things. You have to change one thing at a time. If you go change more than one thing at a time, we don't know what changed the outcome of what you are getting at your butt dyno. That's like a...
So I have two additional things here. Every truck's going to be different. If you do not, I mean, you can copy this to the T, but your timing may be a little different. I don't know how to say what I want to say.
I mean, literally
you
anything.
have to be able to monitor drive, boost, case.
Yeah, drive, boost, case pressure. If you have dome pressure, then dome pressure.
Dome pressure's nice. Interstage.
Yeah, interstage
EGTs.
boost. Yep. EGT, yeah,
Pre and post intercooler, preferably.
Yeah. Pre and post intercooler, I mean, whether it's pressure or temperature, that'd be great to know temperature.
Pressure and temperature.
Yeah, pressure and temperature is most ideal.
A lot of things better
really?
in my head right now.
We would like to know injection pressure. We would like to know, like we want to know everything. All the data that you can get, the better to make a well-calculated decision on your next move.
Yeah.
And that's why I have like $5,000 worth of data logging equipment in the blue truck. And why I have basically all my inputs on my module are full, and I still want more because there's other things that that we question. We're like, well, what is that? What is that right now? Or what did the timing change affect that? That's the biggest thing in all this. You have to apply yourself. I cannot say it anymore. I tell this to people every day, and they're like, well, I just got these, or I just got Evan's delivery valves, bolted them on, and there was a small change, but it just...
Did you try?
It's not that, yeah, it didn't pick up what I thought. I'm like, well, did you add timing? No, I'm still at the stock amount of timing.
Why?
That's mind-blowing. Like, guys, we got to make adjustments. And it's not, oh, well, adding timing picked up that power. No, the delivery valves allowed the added timing to pick up power.
Okay. If you go from a stock 12 valve to this with no experience of adjustments, tuning, logging, for the love of all things good, reach out. We're not your enemies.
Yeah,
we're not competition.
Like, I think we have literally laid everything out on a silver platter with all the information. Anything that we see in the logs, anything during any of the testing, we have made public. Like, we have shown everybody, like, hey, this is what we're seeing. We're going to make this change because of what we are seeing here. And this is what we think it's going to do.
I spend the better part of my evenings thinking about these things. So.
Yeah. And Gavin, I don't have a dyno at my disposal like you did. Hey, I will say...
Draggy, $114.
Yeah, literally. Buy a Draggy. A Draggy is very accurate. There is a little bit of discrepancy between going to the track and the Draggy.
10 faster, 10 slower.
Yeah, the track is measuring whenever you break that beam that your tire's on. The Draggy is sensing your first movement. Depending if you deep stage or not at the track, that affects your time versus a Draggy.
For tuning purposes, it works well.
Yeah. Dyno, I mean, I don't know. I should say dyno time is valuable.
It is, yeah, it is.
Like, I really like to remind people that the dyno should not be used to measure a big swinging contest. The dyno is a tool. I want to hop on a dyno and make a baseline and make an adjustment and see what said adjustment does.
And this doesn't have to be the Firepunk dyno or the Superflow that we all know and love. This can be Blessed Performance's dyno at some BFE squatted truck show in Oklahoma that you just threw your shit on.
Yeah.
This can be a Mustang dyno in Kansas City. This can be
any
dyno. It's going to reflect changes.
Yes.
You're not looking at overall power, overall output. You're looking for improvements or...
With that being said, please do not do all this. Go to one of those TikTok truck boy meet things and dyno your truck, and then call me and say, hey, Gavin, my truck only made 400 horsepower. What's wrong? Well, did you get to advanced time? Did you make any adjustments on the dyno? No, because they run your truck for 3 pulls and pull it off. That is a money-making deal there. They are strictly there to make money.
Off of people like you.
Yes. What you need to do is go to a shop that has a dyno and pay them money for a full day's worth of dyno time and get your baseline, and then start making adjustments. That is a valuable dyno session, not then pull your truck on the dyno, make 3 pulls, strap it down as quick as they can, make 3 pulls as quick as they can, and then get it off, get it unhooked, yada yada, and make their money. That is not well, I mean, and that's $100. $100 and a shop dyno gets you a lot further than 3 poles, I can promise you that. That's probably the best advice that we can give for this, for the max effort deal. Please, if you're gonna do this, if you do this and you actually use a truck, you go race, or even if you go sled pull, you go do all this different stuff, let us know, send us videos so we can start putting this in some of the videos and stuff like that. So just let us know you guys are actually using kind of what we're preaching here.
And more data points.
Yes, yes. So you can, whatever they say, you can lead a horse to water, but that doesn't mean it's gonna drink it. So I don't know. We laid it all out for you guys, done it for probably 2 years now. And that is kind of the secret. The secret is
there's no secrets.
you. Yeah, literally the secret is you. You gotta put in the work. So, I think that was a long one, but that's gonna do it, and I hope you guys liked it.
Keep your goddamn rotary pumps.
And keep kicking it old school. Peace out.